G'day, it's me, Farmer Jay, and welcome back to Dairy Air Farms. Today, we're continuing our deep dive into silage, with the goal of this episode to be, or to answer the question, which is most profitable for silage? Is it to grow corn, or is it to grow grass? Both products can be turned into silage. Now, I make regular videos examining things like this: what's the most profitable crop, how to save money on fuel, how to save money on fertilizer, basically ways for you to generate money. Anyway, I make those videos on a regular basis, so make sure you subscribe to the channel and sign up for notifications so that you get notified every time I make one of these information sharing videos. Now, the reason I'm looking at silage so deeply is I think it is still one of the most profitable crops to grow in the game. And I did a search on YouTube and on Google, and I've done a video myself on the most profitable crops in Farming Simulator 22, and I got a multitude of different answers depending on which YouTuber you watch. Farmer Cop says it's sugar beet. I said it's sugar cane based on the numbers in the XML file, which are the game files from Giants, and also the information provided in Giants Academy, which comes directly from Giants. There are a couple of other reviews that say cotton's the most profitable, but they're factoring in the whole production chain. And my search results also return back most profitable crops for Farming Simulator 19. Now, if you're familiar with Farming Simulator 19, everybody knew that silage, especially corn silage, was the way to go, because it took you a day to grow the corn silage. The mechanics of Farming Simulator 22 are very different. And while I think silage is still probably either the most profitable or one of the most profitable crops to grow, even though it doesn't, well, it does have a production chain, it's the biogas plant. And we will be doing a deep dive into the biogas plant itself when we get more into production chains. But for some reason, everybody else has skipped over silage as the most profitable crop. I have a theory as to why this is. Again, partly because they're not taking into effect that it's part of a dedicated production chain like the bakery or the sugar mill. But if you've watched my first video in this series, and I will link to that at the end of the video, as well as I'll put a link up in the corner, you will see how I was generating anywhere from $1 million a year to $1.5 million a year off of one field on Elm Creek, just off of grass and silage. Once I had raised enough money and I purchased the biogas plant, and I did this after that I made that last video, I have now almost doubled my profits from that one field. That field paid for all of my purchases of all of the production chains, because it's generating that much money. Not only that, I'm getting enough silage to feed 60 cows. No problems. As far as the hay goes, I mow the grass around my other fields, and that gives me plenty of hay from the meadow grass to be able to feed my cows the hay needed to make TMR with the silage. If you wonder what I mean by meadow grass, this is what I mean by meadow grass. The stuff that's growing around your fields. Okay, so hopefully for those of you just joining us for this series, I have now got your attention as to how much money you can make and how you can fund your farm's rapid growth. Also, for those of you just joining us, I will quickly go over my methodology. I am using fields 28 and 29 as my two test fields. I harvested both of these fields, while one was in September because I think it had a grain crop in it, and in the other 28 had corn in it, and it's got corn in it again. I turned that corn into just regular, put it in a silo. But then, because it was October, I planted this field with grass, 29, and I had to wait till the spring because I'm playing with seasonal growth on, as I'm sure most of you are. So I had to wait till the spring to be able to plant 28 again with corn. So the comparison is 1 year's, and we are, as you can see, in October now. So the comparison is over 1 year, how much did each field yield me? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to finish harvesting this field, or not harvesting, basically bringing in the chaff and putting it in the bunker silo. The silage pit, I hate bunker silo. And then I'm going to start harvesting the cornfield, and I will bring you in for that. So I will see you guys when I start harvesting the cornfield. Okay, so we're not quite at the cornfield yet, but I had another thought, because I just want, again, for those of you just joining us, I wanted to bring you up to speed on why I chose fields 28 and 29, because I can't remember if I explained or not. But the field with the corn in it is half an acre larger than the field with the grass in it. So, for all intents and purposes, we have two fields with exactly the same size. Yes, half an acre might make a tiny bit of difference, but in the big picture, it's not going to make that much of a difference. Secondly, for those of you wondering how real this is, whether grass is profitable in real life or not, no, most farmers only harvest grass for their hay or their silage. A lot of farmers will sell hay to ranches that don't have good ground to grow grass on. They will sell it to horse ranches and riding schools. And I don't know how many of you And if you have watched his channel, sound off in the comments. But watch One Lonely Farmer. I forget how big his farm is, but it's fairly big. And all he grows is grass, which he sells to the mushroom farm. And he makes a lot of money from the mushroom farm. So even in real life, depending on where you are, grass can be a very profitable crop. Now, I will definitely see you when I'm harvesting the corn. Okay, here we are harvesting the cornfield. Yeah, I'm using the John Deere equipment, surprise, surprise. I did switch forage wagons because I just downloaded this one the other day and it has almost 6,000 more liter capacity than the other one did. And I filled both the forage harvester and the forage wagon with what do you call that? Silage additive. And no, you can't double dip. It's taking the silage additive from the harvester and not from the trailer. So it's not going to give us a 5% upon 5% yield. The 5% is fixed. Okay, let me finish this field and then we'll look at the total numbers. And before I go any further, I had to use the men's room, which is why I'm in the field of corn. But I also wanted to prove, if you look at the field info, that I have 100% yield on this field with the silage additive. It gives me 105% bonus. The same as I did on the grass field. So neither field has an advantage over the other field. Alright, I'm done peeing. And that is a joke borrowed from Millennial Farmer. Phew! I just wanted to check something, and I had a horrible thought midway through the harvest, was that because these silos are both part of the BGA, that they were going to count as one silo and give me a grand total of chaff as opposed to two separate totals. But no, it gives two separate totals, as you can see there. Okay, so that keeps our test scientific. I was worried that I worried for nothing, but I wanted to make sure we kept this test as scientific as possible. One more thing, I know I'm going to get a comment from somebody saying, you know, you can harvest corn when it's still in that last stage, that semi-green stage, as opposed to having to wait till it goes golden. I do know that. I just waited till October to keep, like I said, all things equal so nobody could accuse me of one thing or another. I fully realize that the last stage of growth of corn, in terms of silage, yields just as much as waiting until it's fully grown like this. Alrighty. Just so you know that when I get to the end of this row, I should stop harvesting because that would be pretty much the exact same size of the two fields. But I'm gonna harvest the extra 2 rows maybe that are left, and I don't think, my gut's telling me, I don't think it's gonna make a difference, or that much of a difference. It might make 50,000 liters, but we'll see. Alright, here we are. Harvest is in. This is the trailer that I used to harvest the grass, or pick up the grass, and as you can see, it went through 34, it's down to 34%, or 3.41 liters left of silage additive. And I've already parked my harvester. And that's at 36% or 7.32. Now, hard to say. I mean, they're both supposed to give a 5% yield bonus. Now let's look at the difference in the silage clamps. Remember, the one on the right was our grass, and the one on the left was our corn. Alright, so the one on the right is 752,507 liters of chaff, which will turn into silage. The one on the left is 455,698. So, all things being equal, if you were to harvest, if corn were to grow in the same amount of time as grass did, like it did in Farming Simulator 19, then corn would still remain king. So it took us a year to grow this much corn, and it took us a year to grow this much grass. Let me just do the math and see what the difference is. Alright, sports fans, or should I say farm fans, the harvest is in, and it's time to take a look at some numbers. This is the grass on the right, and you can see we brought in 752,507 liters of chaff or grass in 1 year. Sorry, on the right. On the left we have the corn, and we brought in 1 year 455,698 liters. That's a difference of, well, we got 40% less chaff from the corn than we did from grass, even though the field is slightly smaller. The grass field, that is, rather than the cornfield. As I said earlier, the cornfield is about half an acre larger. What does this mean in terms of profit? Well, I'm going to use $600 per 1,000 liters as a price. Right now we're at $550. I have seen it on a regular basis go up to $650 in the winter. The prime time for silage, as you can see, is January, and we're in November. So it'll dip in the summer, and then it'll climb in the fall. I'm going to use $600 as it's a slightly higher price than the average. Right now, silage prices are $550, and you can see they will climb right up till January, and then they will slowly fall again. So in January, I'm expecting probably $600 to $650 per 1,000 liters, and then it'll slowly drop. So that's why I'm going with $600 as an average price. $550 is probably what you could expect to get, but we're going to go with a slightly better number. Make what you will of it. But with $600 as an average price, let's say, for 1,000 liters of silage, the grass field would have brought in $451,800 in a year. The total for the cornfield is $273,600. So I did the math, that's exactly 40% less. So it does seem that seasons has changed the way silage works, and corn is no longer the king on an acre per acre basis. Now that's mainly because we can only do one harvest per year. If we were able to do more than one, acre for acre, harvest for harvest, corn would still be king. Now, just to give you a rough idea of how those profits compare, field 31, which is down here, is roughly the same size as field 29. I did this field using a combine with a corn header, and I brought in roughly 53,000 liters of corn. If we take the optimal sell price by waiting till the prime time to sell corn at $1,140 per 1,000 liters, this field only brought in just over $60,000. So as you can see, there's quite a bit of difference between making silage and selling crops. Again, I am not factoring in right now the production opportunities. We'll look at production opportunities in a separate video. And just a quick FYI for those just joining us, by production opportunities, I mean selling the corn to the cereal mill as opposed to selling it directly either to the train station or to one of the other businesses around town. So, I'm hard pressed because I haven't finished all of my experiments yet. I would have to say that silage is probably the most profitable crop in the game. If not the most profitable crop. Because right now we're just looking at the average price if you were to sell it to the BGA and you didn't own the BGA. The BGA, like every other production facility, has extra value if you buy it. Let's just look at my finances statement here. In September, I dumped in 100,000 liters of silage, and it worked out 1,000 liters generated roughly $94,000. So that's about $940 per 1,000 liters, which is a lot better than we're getting right now. So, as far as your farms go, I definitely recommend you spend the time to grow some crops for silage. Definitely, like I said, if you watch the other two videos, dedicate a field to grass, especially if you're starting out, because you can harvest and make silage a lot cheaper with grass than you can with corn, because you don't need any fancy equipment like the harvester we used. So hopefully you found this video useful, and it concludes our initial look at silage and how I'm making, well, now that I own the BJ on Elm Creek, I'm making almost $2 million a year versus $1 million a year off one field. So if you did find this video useful, make sure you give it a like. A like never hurt anyone. And sound off in the comments as to what you think would be more profitable than silage. Thanks for watching and take care.